The class for today is relative clauses. There are two types of relative clauses in English: defining relative clauses and non-defining relative clauses. The defining relative clauses are an essential part of the sentence, and that's why we cannot leave out this information. Let's see these examples. That's the student you were telling me about. And the bold part you have in this clause you were telling me about, it's very important to understand this clause because it defines exactly who or what we are talking about. Let's see this other sentence. Leonardo da Vinci was a great artist who was mainly interested in engineering and technology. The bold part, who was mainly interested in engineering and technology, is a very important part in this clause, and it can't be left out of the sentence because we need it to understand. Now, in non-defining relative clauses, we add extra information which is mostly between commas, and this extra information can be left out of the sentence. Let's see these examples. The beach where she used to take a vacation was hit by a tsunami. The bold part, which is between commas, where she used to take a vacation, is extra information. We can avoid having this information in the clause, and we can say just the beach was hit by a tsunami, and the rest is extra information. Elephants, which are the second largest mammals in the world, are unable to jump. The extra information, which is between commas and in bold, which are the second largest mammals in the world, is extra information. And the clause could be elephants are unable to jump. Now, something very important you have to remember is that non-defining relative clauses are mainly found in written English, but it doesn't mean that we use them in oral English. But it sounds rather formal and it can be easily expressed by simpler sentences. Let's see. Another thing that is important to remember is that in English, we drop off the relative pronoun when it defines the object of the clause. For example, the doctor who helped me most was Dr. Clark. Who is the subject of the sentence, and it will be followed right immediately by a verb. When who is the object of the relative clause, it will be followed by a subject. Let's see this. The doctor who I found most helpful was Dr. Clark. Who is the object of the relative clause, and I is the subject. It is usually used as the subject. That is usually used as the subject. After superlatives, after everything, something, anything, nothing, and only, etc. Let's see the examples. He wrote some of the best poetry that's ever been written. Don't take anything that's valuable. The only thing that matters is that you're safe, which is used in non-defining clauses to refer to whole of the preceding clause. For example, he passed the exam, which surprised everyone, and which is referring to the preceding clause, he passed the exam. Whose is used for both defining and non-defining relative clauses to refer to possession. And in this case, we have, that's the princess whose dress was designed by Versace. Whose is referring to the dress of the princess, and we're talking about a possession. What is used as a relative pronoun instead of the thing that in some sentences. Has she told you what's worrying her? Or I have to do what I believe is right. We can say, has she told you the thing that is worrying her? But as we are using relative clauses, we can use relative pronoun what. When and where can be used to introduce both defining and non-defining relative clauses. Can you tell me when you hoped to arrive? Or that's the hotel where we are staying. Why is used to introduce defining relative clauses after the word reason, and these can be left out. The word reason can be left out. Do you remember the reason why we are arguing? Let's see the same example without reason. Do you remember why we are arguing? Let's summarize a little bit. We said that in English we have defining relative clauses and non-defining relative clauses. Now, let's remember that when we have the relative pronoun followed by a subject, this relative pronoun can be dropped off the relative clause. But when we have the relative pronoun as subject, it's followed by a verb, and these cannot drop off the sentence. The relative pronouns we have are who, which is used for people, where for places, when for times, that or which for things, whose for possessions. And that's it. But we are going to check your assignment in the platform. This was one of the sentences you had to organize to find the correct relative clause. And we have William Shakespeare, who wrote Romeo and Juliet, was born in Stratford-upon-Avon in England. This was one of the sentences you had to rewrite in the platform. And let's remember that when we have information between commas, we are using extra information. Another example was this group of words that you were supposed to organize. Let's see. The correct clause was the television whose inventor came from Scotland is considered to be one of the most important inventions of the 20th century. Now remember again that whose inventor came from Scotland between commas is additional information. And the last one is this group of words that you were supposed to organize. And we say Bill Gates, who started Microsoft, dropped out of Harvard before he finished his degree. Okay, that's it. I hope this is a helpful video for you. Thanks.